In this episode, I have the opportunity to sit down with Christopher Nelson, a technology executive out of Silicon Valley who's figured out the secrets to helping you achieve passive income as a W 2 employee.
Welcome to Click AI Radio, where you'll learn the secrets to transforming your small to medium business. Grant has been helping businesses transform using technology for over 30 years. Advanced technologies like artificial intelligence have been available only to large companies and advanced technical teams. Grant will discuss how you can use to leverage AI and other technologies to grow your small to medium business. As a gift, Grant is offering his ebook, AI for Sales Growth, at clickairadio.com. Now, here's your host and biz tech geek, Grant Larson.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Financial Investing Radio. So today I have in the house with me Mr. Dr. Why don't I call you? Sophisticated, brilliant Christopher Nelson is in the house here with me today. I love his subtitles: technology executive, real estate investor, author, podcast host, and inventor of the space station. Is that right? Or did I
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you may have stretched on the space station,
Okay,
but
right.
space has always been a dream of mine, right? I am
There you
a
go.
technologist, a bit of a geek. So yes.
Excellent. Well, okay, so let's start with that. Technologist, geek. What does that mean? What tell me about your background.
Yeah, so my background, interestingly enough, I started with just a love of technology, right? I heard some people tell stories the other day of how I think in exploring and wanting to take apart, televisions and, anything, remote controls, understand how they worked. And I just was fascinated, especially as the computer age started taking off. What can we do with these? So, my thought was I wanted to go to university and I wanted to learn to become a software engineer. So studied very hard. And then when I went to my first internship junior year with a large database company and I was by myself working on this code, I started going crazy. I started thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Like I loathe this. I do not like this. And it was actually in a job fair that I met somebody who had a similar major who was working in technology consulting. He said, hey, there's different things. It's not all you have to be a software engineer.
Yeah.
I solve difficult technical problems with people moving businesses forward. And so that really, hit a lot of cylinders for me and took me off into technology consulting, which is where I started my career.
That's awesome. I love that background. It's funny. I didn't know that about you. I had a similar journey. I'd come through the technology world, but I ended up bouncing from doing my first startup right out of college. Because when you come out of college, I don't know if you know this, but you typically have all the answers, right? So I jumped right into a startup. I'm going to go solve these world problems. Clearly, everyone's having struggle with. Of course, I failed miserably on my first startup. So then I jumped into the technology consulting world with back then one of the big six, in Chicago doing some technology work. But yeah, it's funny. I jumped to the people side of it also. And that was liberating for me because if I spent all the time I still code today. Don't tell anybody, but I use it as a tool to keep my brain active. But if I had to do that every day, all day, I think I'd go crazy.
Right. And I actually try to now actually take that message to people, kids graduating from college, is the fact that you can actually be involved with technology and it doesn't have to be this one way. Like we see, again, media, movies presents this one view, but there's a lot of other things that you can do. And I found that it was a great start to my career to really get me launched, give me a ton of skills, give me a great background. Cause I went to work for Accenture, right? That came out of one of the, the big six became the big four.
Yeah.
So that was, one of the big four back in the day.
Well, while we're tossing names. Yeah, I did KPMG. So there you go. Yeah. Technology consulting for them. Wow. Okay. Which office were you located? Where were you at with Accenture?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay.
San Francisco, heart of the Silicon Valley. I mean, I felt like that was a great opportunity because I while I was doing the tech consulting, I did want to work for high tech. Like I wanted to work for companies that were really, moving the needle. And that's actually set me up. So about 9 years into my career, I realized that I had this great experience. And this is what I call in my book, your career capital, which is a combination of your education, your experience, and results. And I realized I could actually go trade this for equity in startup companies, because like you said, I've been working for these tech consulting companies. I got that figured out, right? Well, went to work for my first startup, abject failure, right? I found myself within a year nursing an ulcer, having a bad boss. And I didn't know how I got there, but taking a step back. And I think a lot of us figure out paths through failure. And so I don't think we should fear that. And I realized I did not think like an investor with my time. Like I'd been, in the stock market investing since, the 90s, but I had not thought like an investor with my time. So I went back, put together a due diligence criteria, started working my network. What do people recommend? The next company I chose, Employee 417 at a company called Splunk in 2011. They ended up IPOing in 2012, and it turned out to be a big, win for my family and I.
Yeah. That's absolutely cool. Yeah, Splunk, boy, they have done a great thing for the industry. It's funny, I have similar routes. After I did my KPMG route for a number of years, I had this itch to get out to Silicon Valley, and so I was chatting with this startup company out there, and I said to my wife, I'm just going to fly out. We were in Chicago at the time. I'm just going to fly out, just check. Probably won't do this, right? But I just got to go check them out. And of course, I get in there, I'm talking with them. And after several hours of whiteboarding and brain exciting things, they go, do you want to, come join us? And I'm like, I think the answer is yes, and I remember being on the phone in the little conference room, call my wife, maybe my mind's changed. I think we're switching to Silicon Valley. So I think
we're moving out here.
Yeah, I did several startups out there as well. And those, of course, went much different. So, you need to have that first one that kicks you in the teeth, right? And it's like, okay, wait a minute.
You do. And I think sometimes, right, it is, those learnings that help, like anything else, right? I mean, this is where I'm trying to now build this thesis and conversation around. It's an investment of your time. So sometimes you get skin in the game and it's not the right thing, but then does that mean you stop investing altogether? No. You go and adjust your lens, and you go and you get feedback, and then you go and you do it again. And maybe this time you say, I'm just going to, in my head, I may sign a 4-year contract. Maybe let me just do 2 years, see what's there, and track it as I go along. You're going to also be looking at those quarterly meetings when they're giving readouts a lot differently. You're going to look at the market a lot differently and say, what can I do with my time?
So I think that's one of the cool things that I noticed about you when I was reviewing your profile. And it was not just, let me go after doing this startup, but it was to leverage what I'm getting out of this, either equity opportunities, but to take that and to move it into some passive opportunities. And I think that was, for me, a real aha. Like, earlier in my career, I wasn't even thinking that, right? I'm doing these various startup companies. I'm like, go, 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 go. And you think you got all this endless energy. And at some point you think that way. But what I love is that you're connecting the dots from take that energy and translate it into this passive mechanism that's going to benefit you. So I don't want to steal your thunder, but talk more about that. What led you to that?
Well, what led me to that is it was actually that first IPO. So all of a sudden, I'll never forget that day. It was, April 18th, 2012, phenomenal day. But the most memorable moment wasn't this big party. The fact that it went out double what we thought it was when I went home that night, my pregnant wife is sitting there. She asked me 2 questions. She says, when can we get the money and when can we buy the house? Yeah. And I had no answers. Yeah. And I literally went into the next room and started emotionally, falling apart a little. What I didn't realize is I was experiencing what's called a sudden wealth event, which is sudden wealth syndrome, which is a psychological syndrome that when you have these things, you feel lonely, depressed, stressed out, if you're not prepared.
You're not
And I
prepared.
wasn't like, I'd fought so hard to get there, like most of us do. I wasn't prepared. And so what I found, Grant, is that many people aren't prepared. And I literally have been interviewing a lot of people from my book, a lot of technology employees, and they will, oh, I heard Mark Cuban say, like, you have to work for equity if you want to get ahead. Or, I heard Gary Vee or somebody, Robert Kiyosaki, gives them the idea that they want to be an owner. They go get it. And then that's it. They stop. And so my experience was, okay, now we got this. I was, okay, how do we now start getting this? Because I was tired during the 6-month lockout period, over 90% of your wealth in a single stock. I'm telling you, man, like I ate a ton of Tums during that time. Like
I bet you did.
Yeah. Up, down, up, down. So it was really then this plan of, how do we start moving it into something passive? How do we get it to that, Kiyosaki, goal? And so as we were doing that, as we were, scouring the earth in the Bay Area, trying to understand it, we started getting exposed to real estate syndications. We started getting exposed to crowdfunding, and we realized that we had to get sharp on the math. We needed to really understand how to do diligence, how to invest. And, we went on a journey of where we figured out how to start getting some skin in the game that, was something that we could afford to lose, and start really understanding those types of investments. And as we started seeing more and more success, other people started raising their hands because we were very excited. We would talk about what we're doing. We always feel, with our children, with our friends, we should talk about careers and money. Like, we should just have the conversation in an appropriate way, not in a braggadocious way, but in a, what are you doing? What are we doing? Because if we don't talk about it, like you do here, we don't do anything. And these people, they sit on it. Yeah.
And you do, you do sit on it. Absolutely. So tell me about, I think I saw something that you wrote, from no dough to IPO. I love that phrase.
This is the first book that I'm writing, and it's really going to be a playbook on how do tech employees think like an investor when trading their time and talent for equity, right? And I want to, you said it, Grant, like nobody gave us the playbook, right? We had to go in there and we had to trip over our own shoelaces, get beat up, figure this thing out. I have interviewed people in my network who have done 3 or 4 IPOs serially. I've interviewed people that have never done anything pre. They've all been in post companies, and they get these companies public, and they take them from 500 million to a couple $1 billion, and they've gotten tremendous wealth already liquid the whole time. And I've turned it around and put it into a framework so that W-2 employees can really be time investors and say, for myself, I had lost a small business that was my side hustle. I was broke, and I realized I had to go and work for startup companies if I wanted to get ahead. And I think many people are trying to figure out how do they leverage their skills, their time, and their talent to do that. I wanted to put it out into a book that says, here's how you actually set yourself up. Here's how you negotiate for the equity. And then once you get it, what do? You need to plan, protect, and then you need to start producing passive income.
So that framework that you've alluded to, and obviously it's in your book and what it is that you provide in terms of services to others.
Sure.
In that framework, how far does your organization get involved in terms of taking people through that and applying it? Does it go all the way through into the real estate piece itself, or tell me more about that?
Well, so, I mean, the book is really launching the education platform. So right now, the book is really the key anchor. We are looking to follow with some online training that people can do, and we're considering some coaching programs. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the origin story is that this endeavor started from us doing done-for-you investments for technology employees. My wife and I, who were actively investing in, multifamily and ATMs and mobile home parks. We were asked by our friends to help start creating some vehicles for them because they wanted the success. They didn't want to go put it together. So that's how Wealthward Capital was born 5 years ago, was in an effort to help technology employees. And, we're the lead investor. We're leading with our family's dollars. We're creating a model portfolio that's based on where we've taken our tech equity and how now we've put it to work in real estate with my wife and I shared goal of getting to $300,000 of passive income a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome to get to that point. What's the trajectory like? And I'm sure part of the answer is how much you're putting into it financially. But in order for someone to get to some, I guess what I'd call, in fact, I was watching on your YouTube channel, you used an interesting phrase. I'm looking at it right here. It was something like, yeah, you wanted to get to a point where your passive income could overcome your W-2 income. You made that comment.
That's right.
In your video. So I realize that's going to vary by person, but do you have a range? Like, is that a 2-year, a 5-year journey? I mean, what does that look like for people?
Well, I think to your point, Grant, it depends on, how much you can deploy. I really think that it is a 5-year plus journey for most people. I think that if you're sitting on a ton of dry powder, right? If you've had, a couple exits, still it's going to take time to deploy that capital, right? And this is what I tell people is if you walked in, with $10 million, you would not want to put that into a single real estate investment because then you're going to have the same thing as you did if you were sitting in the single tech stock. You're going to be not diversified, right? So I think on average, it's a 5-year journey to really start making some impact. And this is why I want to go upstream to people earlier in their careers thinking about it, because my honest belief is that if I can free technology employees from having to work for a W-2, many of them still want to make an impact. And this is the conversation I love having is if you didn't have to work for money, what would you do? 8 out of 10 tech employees don't say, I'm going to go travel the world. They'd be like, I want to solve this problem, or I want to fix that problem. And that to me is really powerful in our community, right? As of technology employees is how can we unleash that power and allow people to do the impact work and not be focusing just on the survival work?
So I have a fundamental question for you. When I saw that your focus was on the tech space employee, I'm assuming this could apply to any sort of W-2 employee, or is there something about what you're doing that says this is really relevant to a tech space employee?
Well, so the reality is, I want to be able to speak into my people. My focus, my niche is focused on technology employees that I really understand. I understand, their concerns. I understand, how it is. It's a very high-paced, fast-paced lifestyle. Yeah. And so that's where like my writing, my books and everything is very much focused on how do I help these people and try and pay it forward, if you will. Now, on the real estate side, it's interesting that I've been very focused on technology employees and helping them. However, different people relate to the story, right? I mean, I have people that come in and say, oh, I've gotten equity. It hasn't been in tech. Can I invest with you? Of course you can, or interestingly enough, I had a jockey that reached out and wanted to get a call and said, I actually won this big stakes race. That was my big one. And I went through the sudden wealth event. I really related to what you were talking about that. Can I invest with you? And so, of course, I'm open to everyone participating in our investments, but I just feel really, nobody feels sorry for somebody who goes through this sudden wealth event, right? Works in an IPO, right. All of a sudden you get a multiple 7-figure payday. Nobody feels sorry for them, but those people still struggle. Yeah. A lot of us, myself included, didn't come from money, had no idea what to do with it. Yeah. Right. And so it's really, in my mind, I want to really help and lean back into my community because as I mentioned before, like I think that community financially independent will actually then turn around and bring some huge benefits to everybody.
I can relate with that. I grew up milking cows and hauling hay. So yeah, that was right. That was the foundation of that. So I'm interested in your thoughts around, because one of the cool things I saw that you did was you're helping people think through their career paths. And with everything that's taken place with COVID and the impact to the workforce and even what people are expecting from their jobs today and how that model has changed, the mindset's changed. How is that impacting the things that you're doing?
Well, I think it's creating more opportunities, right? I think coming post COVID, I mean, it was in the middle of COVID, I ended up going back to work for another technology company. I had a very interesting offer, and it was for an all remote company that was built all remote. It was developed all remote in 2011, and it had an amazing trajectory, an amazing story. And it was important for me to really experience that, because I think that the future of technology employment, while and a lot of people are being brought back into the office, I think it will truly ultimately become hybrid, where you're going to have office time to connect, you're going to have a lot of home time. What this allows for, I think certain roles, certain specialized roles, is the ability to make tech money and live in low cost income or a low cost of living areas.
Yeah, that
right?
definitely
Which
has changed.
it is. And this to me provides opportunity to save more, to invest more, right? There's this whole concept of people talk about lifestyle by design. Well, what if you designed your lifestyle to invest more? And I mean, this is what really motivated us to leave the Bay Area, come to Austin, Texas in 2017, where at that point we got in here at a much lower price point. We were able to sell our house in the Bay Area, get some single family homes and this home. So we're able to now more passive income, right? But lower our overall cost of living so that then we can invest more. I think there's going to be more of that type of opportunity. I think that, people are going to be able to have much more flexibility in that geography, which I think creates more overall opportunities.
Yeah, definitely see the change there with that. And in fact, having so many people shift and move around the country right now, you see this sort of exodus from some of the coasts, coming into the central part. Large companies that we've seen have, of course, moved out of places like California and such. You've talked about in your material that I reviewed on your YouTube channel some of the reasons to invest in real estate and why you picked that as an avenue for doing this. There's obviously lots of places, certainly crypto, which has, of course, been kicked in the teeth, Bitcoin and stuff recently. But why real estate? Can you touch on that?
I would say the most compelling reason right now to be investing in real estate is the income. Like a lot of asset classes do not provide, to me, there's the construct of a investment that says I'm made for income. Income to me is not a growth vehicle that says I'm going to take your money and expand it. No, an income vehicle like real estate or like what we used to have in the bond market, pre-2008 is I am going to preserve your capital, potentially increase that, and I'm going to give you returns on top of that. I think that real estate is the place where then you have a hard asset behind it that again gives you, those multiple benefits. I know that, 4 ways to make money in real estate, right? There's the cash flow, there's the appreciation, there's the equity pay down, and then guess what? The tax benefits as well, right? We know that we need a lot less real estate money to duplicate W-2 or where we want to be with W-2 income because of the fact that we don't need as much because you get a lot of the depreciation. You really get, good tax planner going there. You can reduce that. But this is where, I don't see any other vehicle right now that's going toe to toe that can preserve capital and put cash in your pocket.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about current trajectory, around interest rates and potential soft landings of the real estate market? Does that create any concerns for you?
I mean, it definitely creates concerns. I mean, I think that a lot of the increase in interest rates has slowed down a lot of the transactions on the real estate front. I know that for, multifamily, partners that we have here in Central Texas, there's just a real long pause, like, where is this going to land? And I know a lot of, investments that were in process, now have stopped because, just negotiations because the rates are moving so quickly. I do believe that, this increase in interest rates will do what the government is looking to, which is going to slow down, cool it off. Prices are going to have to start ratcheting down to, move the market forward.
Yeah.
But however, in real estate, there are opportunities to buy. I know that I'm very bullish right now in the mobile home market. I know also in the self-storage market, there still are a lot of opportunities because the fact that those industries have not been standardized, let's say like multifamily or a lot of, some other commercial properties as well, there still are real buying opportunities there. And so I think if you stick to the fundamentals of buy low, get something that's cash flowing very well, there then is the opportunity to, still make money.
Is there a particular asset class in real estate that you enjoy more than the other? Is it mobile homes? Is it the multifamily? Is there a particular place people should start, when they think about this?
Well, I mean, I think everybody should start with the fundamentals. So there's a book that I recommend to everybody. It's What Every Real Estate Investor Needs to Know About Cash Flow by Frank Gallinelli. And it's a math book, and it gives you the fundamentals. And you go online, you get a spreadsheet, and you understand the math. Not complicated, but that's where everyone should start. And it gives you a breadth of asset classes. Mm-hmm. For me right now, I am bullish, and my partners and I are acquiring in the mobile home park space because of the fact that it's a scarce asset class. Mm-hmm. Scarce meaning that's in high demand, and for the demand, they're not making any more. So that means that, and if you look at, I have a chart that I share with people that the net operating income of mobile home parks has been steady up and to the right since before the year 2000, because of this whole thing that, when you have a scarce asset class, that is going to force appreciation. The other thing is, there's a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of, mom and pops that are baby boomers that are looking to get out right now. So, with a good operations team, there's a buying opportunity. And I do want to, I think one of my partners said the other day, and I love this piece of advice, said, when times are good, you want to be in affordable housing. When times are bad, you really want to be in affordable housing.
Well said.
Yeah, right.
I love that.
I literally wrote it down as soon as it said that. I go, that's gold.
Yeah, that is good. I picked up that wealth word is a verb. That's one of the things that I discovered in reviewing what you're doing. Tell me more about this verb. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to relate it to those that are listening where they may or may not be in the tech space. But let's say they are in the tech space and they're earlier in their careers and they're thinking, how do I get started? What do I do next? What's the verb, right? What's the action that I should do? What I start doing differently?
Well, and so the whole concept is always be moving towards wealth. And this is always just having your eyes, and I do have specs. So, having your investor lens on. And so I think that if it's in your W-2 job, it really is then how can you work for equity? How can you get a piece of ownership? And this, I call it Kiyosaki's bridge. Like he doesn't call it out in his book because he sort of has, you're the employee and the owner over here, and there's this gap. Yeah. But equity, when you're able to get, again, can that be in technology companies? Sure. Could you, I know people work in private equity companies, they get stakes there, in other public companies you can too. But if you're working for equity and you have salary, a bonus, and you have this equity, what I always tell people, then you can live on your salary, you can party with your bonus, and you invest all your equity. Mm-hmm. That then gives you this additional capacity to be able to start investing. And then, as you and I both know, on the investing front, it's how do you stay diversified? How do you have a portfolio that's fit for your lifestyle and you have goals and you're working on it? And to me, and my wife and I created this word, sitting around and trying to think of how could we create this word that really encourages people to just be thinking about moving towards wealth, which could be your health, right? You want to be taking care of your health. You want to be taking care of your mind. Because wealth to us is an abundance of resources, and that can be, energy. It can be, a network, right? Networking with people is moving towards wealth. So that was really the spirit behind it.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, if someone wanted to learn more about you and your organization, what you're providing, where do they go? How do they find this?
Well, they can go to Wealthward, WEALTHWARD.com, wealthward.com. That is my core website where they can go learn more about what we do and get time on my calendar. If they want to understand what we're doing in the mobile home park space, that is thrivecommunity.fund. There they can go see a free webinar of, really how we're really doing something very interesting in that space and have that's blue ocean concept. And then Tech Careers and Money Talk. That is my podcast. I'm recording episodes, going to be launching in September, but that's Tech Careers and Money Talk, where like yourself, I'm facilitating this conversation at the corner of tech careers, and really there'll be a Tuesday episode that's all about how you build and grow your career. How do you go from individual contributor to manager? There's going to be a lot of strategy. There's going to be a lot of interviews and use cases. Then Thursday's Money Day, right? We want to bring in stock options lawyers. What do you need to be looking for when you're negotiating for equity? How do you generate passive income? How do you buy houses in high cost of living areas, right? We want to really speak into all of the problems and challenges that people have and hear from people who've been successful.
What a fun journey. I look forward to listening to what you're doing on your podcast. That's really awesome.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you're going to be a guest too, because little did I know about your secret tech background. Like, I think we got some stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, 3 in Silicon Valley, sold them all. IBM acquired one of them. So I spent some time as an executive there. Eventually bounced out of that world, but sure. That's for another conversation. But yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'll be on the other side of the mic. I'll be asking the questions.
There you go.
Time.
That's right. Good stuff. Christopher, this has been a pleasure. Any last comments you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I think what I always like to share with everybody is just the fact that if you ensure that you are taking time, energy, capacity to focus on this building your wealth, I think there's a true opportunity to, live a life that is sustainable and you can actually design it yourself. So that's my encouragement.
Why don't they teach this in school?
Well, they may soon enough. I'm working on that curriculum too.
I was going to say, I think you're the one to put that curriculum together. So
that's right.
Yes. Hey, thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Financial Investing Radio. And until next time, reach out to Christopher Nelson.
Thank you for joining Grant on Click AI Radio. Don't forget to subscribe and leave feedback. And remember to download your free ebook. Visit clickairadio.com now.